The Edmonton Oilers have major problems following a defeat to the Anaheim Ducks last night at the Honda Center. And the Oilers fall to the Ducks 3-1 in the season series. We'll recap that one and more today on Oilers Digest. But first, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. We are very close to 2,900 subscribers, on the road to 3,000. So hopefully we can hit that 3,000 milestone before the end of the playoffs. But folks, without further ado, Charmin Ultra Soft is the way I would describe the Edmonton Oilers last night following their game to the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, it was just a very interesting one, to say the least, following that defeat. But the Oilers being beaten by the Anaheim Ducks 3-2 in regulation last night in what would have been a very important game, as Seattle beat LA last night in regulation at home. So it would have been a very big 2 points for the Oilers last night to get behind the Kings by only 2 points, as those teams still have one more game together. But the Oilers, when opportunity strikes, they do not take it. Just taking a look at the scoring summary here. Adam Henrique, the former Anaheim Duck, assisted by Jake Wallman and another former Mighty Duck, Corey Perry, making it 1-0 Oilers before the first intermission. But the Ducks take over with 2 goals there by Cutter Gauthier and Mason McTavish. But just going to made it very interesting there, tipping an Evan Bouchard shot. But Lucas Dostal with a Superman-like effort against the Oilers last night, and got the win for the Anaheim Ducks 3-2. But Olivier Rodrigue, it was his NHL debut last night. Had a phenomenal game in net. I mean, with the shorthanded team in front of him, not much more else he could have done. And Kris Knoblauch agrees that he was good, especially in the first period. He didn't have many quality chances in the second or third, but definitely in the first there were some chances that we needed him on, and he stepped up. Big 3-on-1 save there from Rodrigue in the first period. We're very happy with his game tonight. I mean, not a whole lot of negatives with Rodrigue's game. Sure, the first goal, a bit of a juicy rebound given up there by Rodrigue, but the other two, I can't really fault him on whatsoever. But he just looks so fluid in net. I'm a big fan of Rodrigue, and hopefully he gets more chances to start in net for the Oilers. Would I run with him in the playoffs? Probably not. But you just got to give him some more opportunities to sort of know what exactly you have before you lose a guy like Rodrigue. It's been the Oilers' Achilles heel of trying to develop players properly. Either they do so and they just leave to greener pastures, or they let them marinate in the minors too long, and eventually they are not all they are hyped to be. But with Rodrigue, you just got to see him play some more. But shots on goal, 47-21 in favor of the Edmonton Oilers. Not only that, but 0 for 6 on the power play. It's just a completely different power play than what we've seen with McDavid and Draisaitl. So it was very anemic, to say the least, last night. Not at all did I feel like that Oiler power play was going to threaten at any time, despite playing the Anaheim Ducks, who are 30th on the penalty kill, which just that sounds a lot more sadder than it should. But the Oilers, power play wasn't all that last night. Special teams, sure, Anaheim went 0 for 2, but you just got to see some more from the Oilers' depth. I've been, hammering at home ever since, we got the big injury news from McDavid and Draisaitl, and even Ekholm, to say the least. The depth needs to step up, and for a good chunk of it are just passengers. They have no idea what to do with the puck when they get it, and they just try to defer. When McDavid and Draisaitl were on the ice there, they just deferred to them, but now they're not there. And half the team is just confused and lost, or they just overthink things way too much. There's a lot I could say about it, but we only have enough time in the day, so let's just move on. With Darnell Nurse, he said we had lots of opportunities to put the puck in the back of the net, but we didn't find a way to do it, and that's part of the game. We got to find a way to capitalize on the chances that we have, and we didn't do that enough tonight. Of course, finishing has been a main problem for the Oilers, going back to last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Of course, Game 7 only mustered 1 goal, and they went out and got guys like Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner to sort of fix the finishing problem. It's the rest of the team that needs to, sort of get their things in gear here and just finish when it matters. Although, like I said, it might be just an overthinking type of thing here for the Oilers. But the bottom 6, they need to step it up. The deserve to win meter, oh man, when I look at it, the more it hurts. 92% to Anaheim's 8. I don't think I've seen that all year long. The other team, the opposing team, having less than double digits there. That's quite the graph here. But money puck certainly on Edmonton's side last night. But Lucas Dostal said absolutely no way. Just taking a look at the money puck heat map there, you can see the Oilers all over, the inside of the slot there, leading up to the crease, and so you can see a lot of point shots from the Oilers defensemen. Meanwhile, Anaheim, they took their chances when it mattered there, but the Oilers just again outplaying the Ducks severely. But Anaheim, with the puck luck in the goaltending, just found a way to get it done last night. And taking another look here, the Oilers scoring chances, you can see that crease there. Lucas Dostal's crease completely covered by those blue dots. Meanwhile, on the other side there, Olivier Rodriguez, his crease, you can still see the entire thing. You can even see just that slight glimmer of white there from the crease. But just the Oilers were goalie, plain and simple. Not a whole lot of other ways to go around it here. And Lucas Dostal, 6 goals saved above expected. Yes, that means Oilers, the Edmonton's expected goals, 8-1 here is the expected goals. And boy, the more stats and graphics I bring up, the more that loss just hurts last night and how big of a win it would have been for the Edmonton Oilers. But just finishing, the physicality wasn't there for a good chunk of the night. And just taking a look at the natural stat trick right here, 86 shot attempts here for the Oilers compared to Anaheim's 43. And like I said, the shots 41-21, and then the high danger chances for compared to high danger chances against 14-4 for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, just again, not a whole lot more to say about it. The Oilers got goalie. Finishing has been, not their strongest suit all year. Even when McDavid and Draisaitl were in the lineup, just not a whole lot of finishing, and just too many passengers on this team for my liking there. And it also doesn't help when 5 out of the 6 defensemen are in, the top 6 for shots there, with Walman, Bouchard, Stetcher, and Brett Kulak all taking 2 or more shots. Even Darnell Nurse there, all taking more than 2 shots. And you can see Ty Emberson at the bottom there, no shots. Not a whole lot of action for him last night. But just going up and down the lineup here, Adam Henrique had a solid game that I found. Alongside, that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Victor Arvidsson, and Vasily Podkolzin in line. I thought he was, not their worst line, but there were just, again, a lot of passengers on this Oiler team last night. And again, a time of the season where you'd expect them to step it up. Max Jones, no idea what he's doing on this team. Zach Hyman, without McDavid, just kind of seems lost out there. I didn't think Corey Perry and Jeff Skinner had bad games there. Even I think, Perry and Skinner were, 2 of the best Oilers on the ice last night. Jeff Skinner, hopefully he doesn't get scratched for the start of the playoffs there. But, a lot of testament towards the depth before the start of the season. I thought it was one of the deepest Oiler rosters in recent memory, but just not a whole lot to show for it in the finishing category. And just taking a look at the hockey stats right here. Henrique, again, solid game. Walman and Nurse, very solid games. Corey Perry, 39 years old, still giving it his all. Received a nasty hit there from Radko Gudas and still kept on trucking. But again, towards the bottom, and boy, we were eventually going to get to this. Evan Bouchard had one of the worst games of his career last night. Yeah, I'll admit it. The first Anaheim goal, sure, it was a bad rebound there by Rodriguez, but Evan Bouchard just sort of floats it up the middle there and sends it right onto the tape of the Anaheim Ducks, and they make it 1-0. But not a whole lot more to say about that. The Oilers, it just simply wasn't their night, despite what the analytics say. Lucas Dostal just said no thank you, and propelled the Ducks to a big win last night. Of course, the Ducks taking that season series 3-1 there. But of course, the physicality ramped up there in the second and third periods, and Anaheim just sort of pushed Edmonton around all night, giving the blueprint to teams like LA or Vegas to show that, Edmonton, very soft when it matters. You saw there the Radko Gudas hit on Corey Perry, and of course it was only Darnell Nurse that tried to get Gudas all night long, and Gudas wouldn't budge, but the rest of the team just did not stick up for him when, Corey Perry would be a guy that would stick up for a player if that happened to them. But the Oilers, just no cohesiveness or, team energy last night, cohesive team energy when it comes to one of their guys being knocked down, and the rest of the team just doesn't do anything whatsoever. Max Jones, looking at you, buddy, didn't do anything all night there, and not to mention Vasily Podkolzin avoiding a very serious injury there to his right knee, but went back into the dressing room and came back out for the third. So big news. But of course, Darnell Nurse said, I thought guys dug in and tried to get physical. Sometimes things happen out there. People can choose to answer or not, and our response was pretty good. Not too sure what he was watching, but the Oilers, again, just heading into the playoffs, I don't know. I was kind of worried for them, especially we don't know the status of certain guys and if they will be 100% going into the playoffs. But again, just nothing screams this team can go deep this year. Of course, lots of offensive firepower on paper, but on the ice last night, just really 47 shots on goal, but a majority of them came from your defensemen. Not enough guys willing to get into the dirty areas, and again, that just worries me. Because, last year heading into the first round, I thought this team had some oomph. This year, sure, there's a little bit of oomph, but nothing that rivals last year. Sure, a bit of a recency bias, seeing as the Oilers did make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, but lots of variables in this year's team. Sure, the defense, that defensive core, phenomenal. It's just, the rest of the offense willing to pick up the slack of those that are either injured or just not producing as much. Lots of question marks, and we'll see when it comes into the playoffs. I know it sounded like a bit of a doomer right now, but it's just trying to be realistic heading into the Stanley Cup playoffs, especially against a team like the LA Kings, who are hungry for this playoff year to hopefully slay the dragon for their side anyways of the Edmonton Oilers. And even if the Oilers do get past the LA Kings, well, there's a good chance it might be the Vegas Golden Knights. So again, lots of question marks for this Oiler team. It's just not as optimistic as I was in prior years. But what is next for the Edmonton Oilers? Well, they head back home to take on the St. Louis Blues tomorrow night. Of course, the St. Louis Blues losing last night to the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets snapping St. Louis's 12-game win streak. But the Blues will be without Dylan Holloway tomorrow night. As, again, like I mentioned, the Seattle Kraken beating the LA Kings last night in regulation would have helped out the Oilers big time. But, of course, the Oilers, they get in their own way when it matters. But for the Oilers, they recalled forward Noah Phillip as they played last night shorthanded, and now they are qualified for an emergency recall, and they recalled Noah Phillip up from the Bakersfield Condors. The Condors themselves in a bit of a playoff hunt, but themselves also very, very injured. But the Oilers, a little bit more important right now, but Phillip is drawn in for 12 games with the big club this year, notching 2 assists and averaging 8 minutes and 40 seconds in ice time. With him on the ice at 5-on-5, the Oilers have successfully tilted the ice in their favor, outscoring the opposition 5-4 while controlling 52.1% of the shot attempt share, 52.4% of the scoring chance share, and 51.3% of the expected goal share. And that's phenomenal for a guy who's pretty much played, fourth line minutes in his limited time with the club here. But like I said, Oilers Blues tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Mountain there, the Blues with Philip Broberg, but again, without Dylan Holloway. That is it for today's video. Folks, I know you got a lot to say about last night's game. Let me hear it down in the comments section there. Goal lead, once again, no physicality. Who knows what the Oilers will do heading into the Stanley Cup playoffs. That is it for today's video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Help us get to 3,000 subscribers. Folks, have a great rest of your day. Take care. I'm Matt.